my screen that is being shared?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks everyone for taking the time to join this session. So I am Aravind from Cloud Assert, and I am based out of the Seattle region in the US. Our office is pretty close to Microsoft main campus at Redmond. That is one of the reasons we share a very close partnership with Microsoft. Otherwise, I'm a director at Cloud Assert. I take care of product engineering as well as sales and marketing. And Arun is my colleague. He also takes care of sales and marketing. He is based out of India, our India location, which is in the city of Coimbatore in the southern part of India, which is closer to you all. So both Arun and I work very closely. And we also have Gavin and Reng from Cloudify.Asia, our Southeast Asian distribution partners who have arranged for this webinar. Thanks, Gavin. Thanks, Reng. I see at least 3 or 4 of our clients joining this call. It would be good to get a quick intro since it's just 4 of us. I know Aprizon, from we worked from the past, from Windows Azure Pack days. Aprizon, do you want to introduce yourself quickly? Okay, I'm not able to hear Aprizon.
Oh, I think Aprizon has a tag on the message instead. So okay. Agus and Aprizon is actually from Infront Consulting in Indonesia.
Yeah.
So they are the Microsoft focus partner on Azure Stacks and a lot of Azure and on-premise solutions.
All right, great. And then I see Suhanto Agus, and he is from. Can somebody introduce Suhanto? I try to unmute him.
So Agus Suhanto is also from same team with Aprizon.
Got it. Okay. And Arshad?
So Arshad is from Telecom Malaysia. So our Malaysia telco team enterprise is a product owner for Azure Stacks from Telecom.
Awesome. Hi Arshad.
Yeah. Hi Aravind.
Yeah, hi. And then I see probably Arshad joining again as Arshad Raimi. I hope it's one of the same. And
yeah,
then
it's the same thing.
Yeah, hi, and then there's Chandra. I believe, Reng, you mentioned that Chandra is from HPE, right?
Yes,
hi,
yeah. Right.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So this is great. So let's get going. So today what we'll do is, we'll spend some time quickly talking about Cloud Assert, who we are, and then the solutions that we offer, and focusing specifically on what our offerings are for Azure Stack. And then we'll talk a little bit about the billing solution in specific, right? That's going to be the key focus area for this session. And we'll walk through what the billing solution is about, its capabilities, and also give you a quick demo of the solution so that you get a feel for it. But we'll also keep this session interactive so that if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt and ask, and so that we get the best value for the session for all. So Cloud Assert, we have been in existence for close to 5 years now. Our founder is from Microsoft, ex-Microsoft Azure team. He was leading the app services. It used to be called as .NET Web Services and websites and whatnot before it changed to app services. So when our company was founded, the leadership team, a leadership team of which I'm also a part of, we all bring a wealth of experience, having worked at Microsoft for various groups, including Xbox, Bing Ads, and so on and so forth. So we will bring a wealth of live online services experience, and including cloud technologies, which enable us to focus on offering hybrid cloud solutions for customers across the globe. And speaking of hybrid cloud, our initial area of focus was Windows Azure Pack as the Microsoft technology on which we wanted to offer our solutions. So we started offering resource provider-based solutions for Windows Azure Pack. And Azure Pack was built as a solution with focusing on Microsoft technology for the data center, such as System Center, IaaS websites, SQL, and so on. Large enterprises and services providers across the globe are typically invested in Microsoft hypervisors, as well as industry-leading hypervisors like VMware for that matter. So there was a need to have a self-service portal experience that can offer a multi-tenant experience, which is what Azure Pack is, but being able to integrate not only with Microsoft infrastructure but also other workloads, right? And that's where we built our solution called vConnect, which enables cross-cloud VM provisioning and management against various virtualization platforms. We originally built it for VMware, then we expanded it to System Center, Azure Public Cloud, AWS, and so on. And then, just like how a public cloud enables you to meter consumption of resources, we built a similar capability for the private data centers as well, for the private cloud, and enabled tracking consumption of resources against virtualization platforms, and then be able to charge back for those, or show back for that, within an enterprise context, right? So those have been our focus areas as a company to build products and then sell across the globe. So we have customers across the globe, pretty much in all continents as of today, and we have in our clientele Fortune 100 customers, top 5 banking and financial institutions, top 5 healthcare institution in the US, and we have a big conglomerate in Philippines, a large enterprise, and then in the Middle East we have a major media company that's a client, and to give few examples, right? And they have been using our solution for the past 5 years to be able to provision and manage VMs across thousands of hosts and infrastructures, right? And we have also, particularly for service providers across the globe, hosting service providers, for Windows Azure Pack, Cloud Assert solution for billing has been the go-to solution in the market. So fast forward from 2014 to 2018, where we are today, we have essentially brought the same solutions for Azure Stack, right? So when you talk about Azure Stack as a technology, which is truly Azure in a data center, some questions that come to the mind for enterprises or service providers that are wanting to use Azure Stack as a technology is, hey, Azure Stack is great. It gives me Azure in my data center capability. I can write the code once and leverage it anywhere for private or public cloud, right? I have a consistent experience and so on and so forth, and it's like a step towards public cloud journey for me, and so on and so forth. But how can I leverage my existing infrastructure, right? That I already have invested in, that is the form of VMware or System Center, Hyper-V, or whatever. Now, how do I leverage that existing infrastructure in conjunction with Azure Stack? And similarly, is there a fully integrated billing solution for Azure Stack? Now, of course, Azure offers its own billing, but Azure Stack doesn't offer native billing capabilities. So for a service provider to offer Azure Stack as a solution to their end customers, how do they charge back their end customers for actual consumption? These are some of the common questions that existed. And as a result, we being a close partner of Microsoft, we have, built resource provider solutions to address these specific problems. And we've been working with Microsoft for the past, 4 years, right from the early days of Azure Stack when it used to be called WAP Next till today. We share a very close relationship and partnership with them, and we are only one of 2 third-party companies that are approved to build resource providers for Azure Stack as of today. And from a cross-cloud management and integration standpoint and usage and billing standpoint, we are the only approved third-party RP or resource provider for Azure Stack. And so what that really means is that just like how just to the same rigor that Microsoft goes about testing their resource providers, like say compute, storage, network, or even their own internal optional resource providers like app services or SQL resource providers. You can imagine Cloud Assert's resource providers for vConnect and usage and billing to be on par with those resource providers in terms of the rigor that it goes through for testing these compatibility with Azure Stack, not only for a certain version but also on an ongoing basis as and when new versions are made available. So we have a pretty established process with Microsoft to ensure that our application, that our solution continues to be compatible as new versions of Azure Stack come out. So we'll talk more about it down the line, but I just wanted to set the context. So to kind of summarize and lay out at a high level the key solution components that we offer today, in the middle, you see here the key capabilities that we offer today. Cross-cloud management, which could be across all of these disparate virtualization and cloud platforms like Azure, Azure Stack, AWS, System Center, VMware, and whatnot. And then on the other side, you see billing, usage and billing, right? Which through which you can monetize and meter and track the consumption, and so on. Complementing these two, we have also enabled capabilities to automate the process of managing and provisioning VMs to the extent that it can cater to any unique business process that might apply to an enterprise. For example, an enterprise might have a custom business process where anytime a VM is provisioned, you might want to make an entry to an asset management system or query an central IP management solution to generate IP addresses and whatnot. Our solution enables you to customize all those processes and integrate with those legacy systems or external systems and automate the whole end-to-end provisioning process and management process. Alternatively, if say in an enterprise scenario, you want to have a service request-based model where any resource that is provisioned has to go through a level of approval to the business head and then followed by the infrastructure head, for budgeting and infrastructure capacity reasons, before which the resource provisioning actually happens, right? Then we do have integrated request management capability that can fulfill those. So the whole solution has been built over the last 5 years by talking to actual customers, enterprises, and service providers across the globe, their day-to-day needs, and it has evolved to what it is today. And these set of core capabilities, which are part of our underlying product and platform, we originally made them available through the Windows Azure Pack portal channel. And in the last few years, we have brought it over to Azure Stack as well, which means you have the same set of capabilities available for Windows Azure Pack if you're investing in Azure Pack as a technology, or if you're investing in Azure Stack as a technology, you have the same capabilities. Now, for those customers that do not want to invest in Azure Stack as technology because it's an extra investment for hardware and they already have heavy hardware investments in place, and on the other hand, they also deem Azure Pack as technology of the past, and it's not an area where Microsoft continues to focus or invest in for the future. So they have a vacuum wherein they don't know, hey, with the Windows Server 2016, 2019, and whatever else that's going to come, and the latest and greatest changes that could come in VMware in our virtualization platform, if we want to manage those infrastructures in a self-service portal and multi-tenanted experience, then what would be the portal experience that can fulfill that need, right, without having to invest in Azure Stack? And that's where we built Cloud Assert's own homegrown portal solution called Hybr, HYBR, which is available to be deployed on a SaaS portal basis or can be deployed on-premise in your own existing infrastructure, right? It could be in your own data center in the form of Windows Server, or it could be hosted in your own Azure subscription in the cloud, right? So Hybr kind of tries to bridge the gap and fill the vacuum for those customers that cannot invest in Azure Stack or don't want to invest in Azure Pack, right? So that's the lay of the land in terms of what solutions we offer. And as part of this usage and billing, we also enable, as you can see at the bottom, a few more integrations like payment gateways in the form of Stripe, PayPal, and so on, which we'll talk about more in detail. Now, talking a little bit about technology, how does Cloud Assert solution, what does the resource provider really mean, and how does Cloud Assert solution as a resource provider work, right? So if you're familiar with Azure, it looks pretty much like Azure. That's what is obviously the goal. It's Azure in a data center, and which means you can go about provisioning and managing VMs, storage, networks, and whatnot, right, within the Azure Stack infrastructure. So each of these underlying core services, storage, network, and compute, are offered through what is called as resource providers, right? There are various resource providers which offer these services, these infrastructure services. Now, Microsoft Azure Stack has a framework by which one can build a custom resource provider, albeit only we are one of the approved vendors allowed to implement that, and we have built a similar resource provider experience with the same architecture through Cloud Assert Billing and vConnect. So if you see from an overall architecture standpoint, the way the whole interaction works in terms of the underlying infrastructure, be it VMware, OpenStack, etc., all of those are abstracted and integrated with our central API layer, which is made available and consumable to the Azure Stack portal through the Azure Resource Management or ARM layer that Azure Stack offers, right? So we follow a consistent architecture with Azure Stack from that standpoint. And then talking about billing solution in specific, which is what we want to focus on for this meeting. Imagine if only you can, extend Azure Stack's portal experience to not only, consume all the services that Azure Stack offers, but also, being able to, on an ongoing basis, see the utilization of the resources or the usage of the resources that you're provisioning and the associated costs for them, right? How cool would that be? Instead of having to, get a report from Microsoft, at the end of the month, and then like applying, transforming those costs for your end customers and whatnot, and sharing it with your customers in a separate portal. If your tenant customers can get to see that information right within the Azure Stack portal, while they are, within the Azure Stack portal, managing their other resources, be the ideal experience, because this is what Azure gives you today. Azure Public Cloud gives you today. So our goal was to provide a very similar experience for Azure Stack, so that those customers that are familiar with the Azure experience, can easily, understand what this means and then take to it, and it all makes sense, right? So what you would see in the demo shortly is an integrated portal experience for tenants, where they can see their ongoing pricing and billing information, including invoices and whatnot. Talking a little bit more about specific capabilities that the billing solution offers. Essentially, the basic capability that we offer is providing visibility into the usage and cost. Hey, how much of this VM have consumed, or how much of across the service have we consumed? If it's storage, how many GB have we consumed the current billing period or the past billing periods, right? Or if it's bandwidth, how much IO have we consumed? And then what are the associated costs for those, right? That I'm paying my service provider, or that's costing my enterprise, right? And in order to be able to provide this visibility into usage and cost, Cloud Assert, billing solution has an underlying engine which kind of, queries the usage that's aggregated within the Azure Stack infrastructure, and then enables the service administrators to, configure pricing. The administrators would be able to say, hey, I want to charge for this service in this way, which could mean, for example, I want to charge per core for every VM, or by RAM, or by VM hours, or by IO, or by storage disk space and whatnot, right? So any and every available meter out there can be leveraged to custom model the pricing in terms of how you want to charge back your tenants. And again, this could be done in a fixed fee model, or a pure pay-as-you-go consumption model, or it could be in a mixed model where you charge a fixed fee and beyond a certain threshold you charge for pay-as-you-go, right? And all of this is totally configurable to with fine-grained access and fine-grained control. So I'll show you in the demo to what level you can control the pricing, so that you get an idea. But rest assured, the pricing module and the billing solution has evolved over the past 5 years, albeit for Windows Azure Pack customers, but we understand the real billing needs for a service provider or enterprise, right? And we are bringing all those goodness that we have built, all those rich capabilities for Azure Stack as well. So as a result, when we deploy the solution, chances are it automatically fulfills all of your billing needs out of the box, right? And if you have some unique needs, we can always enhance the solution, or in this extensibility in the product that can help you extend beyond what it offers out of the box. So that's kind of how this solution has been built. Before we get into the demo, I just want to talk about a couple of technical aspects for those of you that are interested, particularly the resource provider. The way you will deploy the Cloud Assert resource provider for billing would be, if you're familiar with deploying, say, app service for Azure Stack or SQL for Azure Stack, then you would find that the Cloud Assert billing resource provider deployment to be very similar. Particularly it is similar to what SQL resource provider offers for Azure Stack, right? So which means you would have a simple PowerShell based deployment where you provide all the necessary inputs in terms of what is your portal, the necessary results and whatnot, and then the requisite certificates that are required to deploy the services. And then it goes about in an unattended fashion, deploying all the requisite components of the solution. And the deployment process can be in a single box for you to do a POC where all components are deployed in a single place. This includes the portal extensions that let you as an admin see the admin features for billing, or as a tenant see the tenant features for billing. And it includes the underlying RP resource provider API for billing. It includes the underlying core API layer, which has true business logic for billing, and the background service, which does aggregation of billing and whatnot, right? So all these components are deployed through our deployment process. And from a production standpoint, if you want to move from a single box setup to a distributed, highly available setup where you want to deploy the portal extensions on a node or a set of nodes, and the RP and API layers in their own nodes, set of nodes, and albeit with load balancing in place, and making them highly available, including the underlying databases that we use for billing purposes. They can be deployed in SQL servers, with always-on availability and whatnot. So you as a customer, as a service provider, can decide, how you want your deployment to be, and we support pretty much all the, typical deployment topologies that one would have for production use, right? And how do we keep, a Cloud Assert solution resource providers for billing continue to work even if new versions of Azure Stack get released, right? So this is essential. Azure Stack being an appliance that Microsoft, kind of completely managed by Microsoft and the hardware vendors. Microsoft, does monthly releases, and hardware vendors would have their own patches as well on an ongoing basis. Now, everything has to happen in a seamless fashion. So obviously that means just because you upgraded to a version of Azure Stack, you shouldn't say, hey, billing is broken now, I can't use it, what do I do, right? So we don't want to run into that scenario at all. So which is why we work very closely with Microsoft to understand what are the upcoming releases and what are the upcoming changes in those releases that could potentially impact how the Cloud Assert Billing Solution would work, right? So even though Microsoft releases every month, only very rarely do they make changes to how the resource provider registration and resource provider integration process itself changes, right? So or works, right? So as a result, whenever there is a potential change, whenever there's a change that could have a potential impact on our resource providers, Microsoft notifies us, and in such instances, we make sure that we go about testing the Cloud Assert solution ahead of time for the upcoming version of Azure Stack in Microsoft's own Azure Stack labs, right, in multi-node environment, and making sure that if there's something broken, that we either fix it in billing solution, or if it's a feedback we have to give Microsoft, we give the feedback and they fix it, so that both Microsoft Azure Stack as well as Cloud Assert solution are ready when Microsoft is ready to release it for public consumption, right? So with this established process in place, we circumvent any potential issue that could happen, when somebody wants to upgrade to a certain version of Azure Stack in their own environments, right? So as a result, you can be rest assured, nothing would really break. From a security standpoint, our resource providers are built with keeping the industry standard, open web application standards, top 10 security concerns, which means data is always encrypted at rest, particularly sensitive data. And then, we use HTTPS for communications. We do IP whitelisting so that we ensure that, only the allowed traffic is only the traffic that is supposed to be allowed is allowed and nothing else. And there's no sensitive data that is returned back. Always sensitive data such as passwords are only taken as input, not returned back. And we also enable role-based access control and so on, right? So you don't have to worry about, hey, is this solution secure enough? Can I use it for production? Of course. Then let's talk about a little bit on BCDR, which is backup and disaster recovery. Hey, what happens if my Azure Stack infrastructure goes down completely, taking with it the Cloud Assert components as well? Then what do I do? How do I recover from it? The good news is recovering from recovering the Cloud Assert billing solution is pretty straightforward. If you're using SQL Server with always-on availability, and or if you're doing enough backups of your SQL database, you can easily recover from that. Even if you completely lose the database, right? As long as Azure Stack data is still there, the usage data is still there, you can configure Azure Stack to store retain usage data within its infrastructure for n number of days, right? It could be up to 6 months or 1 year even, for that matter, right? And that's a configuration that you can make. And if you do that, then you can always install Cloud Assert billing solution afresh and then go back and retroactively generate all the invoices even, right? But this is in a really worst case scenario. Now, ideal case, you have database SQL Server always on capability in place, so that enables with recovery databases, and then the remaining components which are API based, they're all stateless. So as a result, if something the server the node crashes, you can easily set up another node and then get that service back online, right? And then if you have high availability in place, obviously even if one node goes, your services continue to be available. So as a result, you can ensure that Cloud Assert solutions are built for resiliency and for disaster recovery scenarios, and even if in a catastrophic scenario, you can easily recover quickly by setting up everything afresh. I will pause here and then check if there are any questions before I move forward, because we are getting close to showing a demo.
Hi, Arim. Maybe just a quick question for me, right? So for production Azure Stack Cloud Assert deployment, there any SSL certificate required?
Yes. So any any endpoint that it could be an API endpoint, it could be a portal endpoint. Obviously, we have tenant portal endpoint for Cloud Assert, so Cloud Assert Billing. We have the admin portal endpoint for Cloud Assert Billing, right? These are the web endpoints that serve the web pages that fulfill the billing features for admin and tenant. And similarly, we have a resource provider endpoint, which is an API endpoint, web service API, and same with the core API as well. So there are 4 endpoints which are web based, which are hosted in IIS, and those for security reasons we enforce that those are deployed on HTTPS basis. So just like how you would have procured certificates to deploy the key services in Azure Stack, be it for compute storage network or in the optional services like app service or SQL, you would be required to procure certificates for Cloud Asserts as well. But it's just one certificate that is sufficient for you can say star.cloudassert.your Azure Stack FQDN, right? And then it would basically rather star.billing your Azure Stack FQDN, right? If you get that certificate, then it can be applied for all of these endpoints.
All right.
Information is available in our prerequisites. We'll share it with you when you're ready to do POCs, right?
Cool. Right.
All right. Any other questions?
Okay. Hi, Arvin.
Yep.
There's one question for me about the second for RP database failure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because RP database will set up on SQL always on. This SQL always on is built inside the Azure Stack or outside the Azure Stack?
It's up to you. You can even have the SQL Server database used by the billing solution to be outside of your Azure Stack infrastructure if you choose to, right? So that is totally up to you. We support both scenarios, within Azure Stack infrastructure or outside of it.
Okay, thank you.
So since our company is based out of US and in India, as I mentioned, it enables us to provide 24/7 global support. So that means that you don't have to worry about, hey, I face an issue with Azure Stack, how soon can I get a response, right? Because we are located in different parts of the world, there'll always be somebody available, to turn around, of course, during business hours. But unless it's a catastrophic issue, then we do offer 24/7 support, right? So, that apart, we also, from a licensing standpoint, I want to touch upon quickly in terms of how we license the billing solution itself. The billing solution has a very simple way of licensing. The billing solution serves the purpose of generating bills at the end of the month. Just like how you get a bill for every subscription in Azure, we generate a bill for every Azure Stack subscription in your environment, right? So every one of your tenants Azure Stack subscription, we generate a bill if billing services associated with the offer, using which the subscriptions were created, right? So we count the subscriptions, and you would have to license based on, say, 100 subscriptions or 200 subscriptions or 500 subscriptions and so on, depending on what you anticipate to be your user base and how many distinct bills you want to generate for any given month. You can start with 100 and then go on to 200, etc. as your business grows, and that's how we license. And you can buy it in a perpetual license model, or you could have a yearly subscription-based license model. And all of this includes standard support. In a perpetual model, you get it for the first year, and then you can renew the support for subsequent years. Whereas the subscription license, support is included as part of the product. And as long as you remain subscribed to the support, you get version updates on the product as well, so that you can keep up to date with the latest and greatest features, right? So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of how you want to, purchase the product. We can work with you, understand your unique needs, understand which features you use, etc. And we always go the extra mile to make sure that you get value for the product that you're purchasing and the value for the features. So we're willing to listen and understand what your requirements are, and then, provide you your unique pricing accordingly. So let me, go to demo and then come back and talk about a couple of other topics, right? I'm just going to flip over to our Azure Stack environment here. It's what we have is a single node Azure Stack environment in Cloud Assert Labs. Obviously, Azure Stack being multi-node Azure Stack requires a heavy capex investment. At Cloud Assert, we have multiple. We have our own hardware, and we have set up several single box Azure Stack instances, using which we do all our development for the source providers, testing it, and demo purposes and whatnot, right? So I'm going to use one of those single node setups for demonstrating the solution today, but rest assured, the solution works just fine in a multi-node setup because, as I said, we tested it in Microsoft Labs, Microsoft Multi-Node Labs. We tested it with several potential customers and some paying customers, in multi-node environments. So it's proven for multi-node as well. Let me know when if you can see my screen here. I'm just switching to my Azure Stack environment.
Aravind, yeah, I think it is coming. Yes, now we can see the portal.
Yep. So as you can see here, I am in the admin portal experience of Azure Stack. So this is our environment, one of our environments called Azure Stack 100. And you see here all the out-of-the-box features of Azure Stack available. In this environment, we have deployed Cloud Assert resource providers, namely vConnect and Billing. So that's why you see them available as additional services in the service catalog here. So I click on Billing. So as an administrator, you deployed the Cloud Assert Billing Solution. So the moment you deploy the Cloud Assert Billing Solution, one of the first steps that you do is to go about configuring the settings, right, in terms of what features you want to enable or disable for your environment. For example, there are features to run promotions, to send email notifications certain scenarios, or generate invoices and show them to tenants, enable them to download the invoices, or integrate with payment gateways like Stripe. Again, depending on what is applicable for your scenario, for your business, you can turn on or turn off these features, right? And then similarly, you can go on to configure how your invoice, needs to look if you are invested in, generating invoices for tenants, right? There's various bells and whistles here in terms of how you want to customize your invoices, including, specifying a logo and whatnot. And then you can configure notification settings, you can configure integration with Stripe, etc. So once you've configured that, then then the next step as an administrator you would do is to decide how you want to offer your services and how you want to charge back or price the service offerings, right? So with Azure Stack, obviously Microsoft charges you for the resources that you provision within Azure Stack, right? Be it for compute, storage, and Microsoft has a rate card based on which they're going to charge you. Now you might choose, hey, if Microsoft charges me $10, I just want to charge, $12 to my end customer, right? If they consume the same service, right? But that means you want to simply mark it up by 20%. On the other hand, hey, let Microsoft charge me the way they want, but I'm going to have my own unique way to charge my customers, and that means I want to charge based on actual consumption for certain meters, like say, blob store capacity or storage capacity or I/O, or Windows VM hours versus base VM hours, etc., and so on and so forth, right? So if you want to get to metering the resources based on certain metrics and then tracking the consumption and then converting them to cost, then that is totally doable too. So essentially, the Cloud Assert Billing Solution, the core feature of the Cloud Assert Billing Solution that enables you to configure pricing is what we call as a pricing profile. So you as a service admin, once you've decided these are the services I want to offer, and you've created the corresponding plans and then created the corresponding offers in Azure Stack in terms of how you want to offer the services, then you would basically create a pricing profile typically for each offer that you want to offer for Azure Stack, right? Because each offer is unique. Even though they might offer the same services, your quotas maybe are different and so on and so forth. So each offer is unique. So as a result, the pricing could be unique. So chances are you would end up creating a pricing profile per offer, right? And you could create a pricing profile by simply marking up, or you could create a pricing profile through pure pay-as-you-go consumption-based, like I talked about. So let's see what that means, right? So when you create a pricing profile, essentially you could go on to specify, hey, how do I want to, charge for a subscription that is created based on this offer that's associated to this pricing profile, right? Do I want to charge a one-time fee whenever somebody subscribes to this offer? Do I want to charge a recurring monthly fee, which is a flat fee, irrespective of what they consume, right? Then in that case, you would go setting the monthly fee or the one-time fees. If you want to apply taxes automatically to the invoices generated, then you could, turn it on. And if you want to simply apply a markup percentage, then you could mark up, right? So which means in a base pricing profile, you would have defined, what are the charges for service, and then you would simply mark up based on that. And alternatively, if you want to just do pure pay as you go, I'll show you how you can do it. Then beyond that, promotions wherein you want to incentivize an offer and say, hey, anytime somebody subscribes to this offer, I want to give them $100, off the first for the first 30 days, right? Within the first 30 days, they're going to consume $100 worth of resources. They're going to get it for free, right? Which means there's a limited time for which it's going to be made available. Alternatively, you can also offer a recurring promotion so that you give them $10 off every month as long as they remain subscribed to the plan, right? So again, these are things that you can turn on, off, and customize depending on what your unique offering is. And once you've done that, then when you want to offer true pay-as-you-go billing, you go into what is called as our metered resource pricing feature, right? So here is where you get to see at a glance all available meters that Microsoft has made available for you to charge, to track consumption and then charge back your customer. For example, when you look at storage as a service, Microsoft emits, block transaction, metrics, table type, storage type could be table or blob or page, queue, whatnot, right? So Microsoft emits metrics for each of these types of storage, right, including queues and whatnot. And if it's say key vault, they enable the number, provide metrics for number of key vault transactions. If it's SQL, they provide you the, hours, database hours, which is, what is the size of the database and, how long has it been in use, etc. And so on and so forth, right? And similarly for compute, they enable you, pricing based on, base VM hours, Windows VM hours and so on. Now with Cloud Assert solution, you can go one step further and then configure your unique pricing based on the instance sizes, right? Because obviously different size VMs, you might want to charge them differently. So for example, if you want to charge, you might want to charge a Windows standard D11 to be different from a Windows standard D2, right? So how do you do this? Let's click through a particular meter. So if you want to charge for a given meter, then you would first enable that meter and then go about configuring the price for that meter, right? Which means for every hour of the VM running, every hour of this particular Windows VM running, which means the Windows licensing is also included, you want to charge $263 per month, right? So the unit is VM hours. I'm sorry for mentioning, VM hours out of every hour. Rather, you're mentioning that for a month, if they use this VM for the entire month, I'm going to charge them $263. That's what it means. And that gets automatically prorated to what it means on a per hourly basis, right? And if you want to set saying that, hey, for that VM, I want to set a minimum monthly fee, say of $10, which means irrespective of whether the VM was on or whether it's being used or not, I want to charge them $10, right? Then you can set a minimum monthly fee as well, which means up to $10 of usage, the fee will be a flat 10, but when the usage goes beyond the $10 threshold, then it will be the actual amount, right? Then actually you can also, say that, hey, I want to offer for every hour, I want to offer a certain number, or rather for a given month, I want to offer a certain number of hours of usage as free. Then you can say, hey, I want to offer 10 hours of usage as free, right? So you have like kind of fine-grained control in terms of how you want to model the pricing and how you want to model the way you offer this service at various levels. So you can configure at the pricing profile level, you can configure at the meter resource level as well, right? And here we also let you filter the pricing based on, say, if it's a VM of type standard B2, then I want to apply this pricing, right? So that's how you distinguish pricing based on the instance size, because otherwise the service is of type, Microsoft Compute, and the meter ID for this is the specific GUID, but Microsoft has defined, and these GUIDs are publicly available in Microsoft website. So you can, if there are new meters becoming available, you can come and create those new meters easily here, and then configure pricing for them, right? Also, Cloud Assert publishes these meters in our own. We host the available rate cards and meter information in our own website as well. So if you want to apply, upload it from there, from Cloud Assert's Azure store where we have hosted it, you can do it from there as well, right? So there are a lot of provisions for you to keep your pricing up to date. So once you configure the pricing, obviously at that point, you as a administrator are ready to offer the service and start tracking the consumption and then charging by right? So what happens at that point? You basically go about associating the billing service to, you'd add billing as a service to your plans, right? So I have various plans here, and you would see that, when I go to services, in this case, I've added Cloud Assert Reconnect. If I pick probably a branch plan, maybe, you see Cloud Assert Billing added as a service, right? Unless and until you associate Cloud Assert Billing service to your plan and then offer it to your tenants and they subscribe to it, Cloud Assert Billing Solution wouldn't know that it has to track and meter the of resources and then charge back the tenant, right? So this is an important step that you have to do. And then once you've done that, you bundle the plan into an offer and then make it available for the tenant. Then the tenant can start consuming the services. And then the Cloud Assert Billing Solution also knows that, hey, this tenant has subscribed to this offer, and as a result, I have to now go about tracking consumption, right? So here I am quickly flipping to the tenant portal experience. You see here it's portal.Azure Stack for the same mass-centered environment. It's the tenant portal experience. So I, as a tenant, have already subscribed to certain offers which have billing enabled as part of it. So as a result, I see billing as a service show up in the Azure Stack portal, tenant portal, right? Aside from the out-of-the-box features like VMs, storage, and whatnot. So I click on billing. It gives me an overview page. And for those of you familiar with Azure public portal experience in the past, this is quite similar to that, where at a quick glance, you get to see what are all your active subscriptions that you have as a tenant, what are their associated costs, right? And then it also shows you at a quick glance what the historic costs have been, for each monthly billing cycle. So you as a tenant can quickly drill through any subscription, and get to see the usage for the current billing cycle. Here it shows that, hey, there's $509 almost worth of resources consumed this month. So let me find out what's really contributing to that. I click on that. It provides details of each and every single meter resource, their associated consumption, number of resources associated with those, and what the associated costs are, right? So this gives me at a quick glance what the consumption is for my current month. And then if I want to go back and look at history in terms of what this has been for any past billing cycle, you can go and choose any of the past billing periods and then drill to the usage history in pretty much the same fashion, right? So all this is available for the tenant at a very quick glance. And if they want to get more fine-grained detail, they could download the usage in a CSV format. And what this CSV provides is essentially pretty granular information in terms of what are the resources associated with it. Let me download this one. I think this one has more detailed usage. I can show here. So of course I don't have Excel installed in this Azure Stack environment, but if you open it in Excel, you will see that for each resource that's in Azure Stack, for each day, it will tell you what that specific resource consumed in terms of units and what the associated costs are. So which means you can easily create a pivot table report out of this CSV and then get to see by resource, what the associated costs are. This pretty much would map back to what you saw when I drilled down to a subscription with the associated resources and whatnot, right? So just like Azure public cloud, your tenants can get to see the usage history at a quick glance. Now, if you've turned on the invoices feature for your tenants, then the invoice is automatically generated at the end of every billing cycle. We have a calendar-based billing cycle for every month, so which means after November is finished, on the night of the 2nd of December, we give 2 days of buffer time to ensure that Azure Stack has accumulated usage for every single day of the past month, and then we generate the bill, and then that bill shows up as an invoice here, right? So you see here invoices for the months starting from June, July, August, September, October here, and I can drill through any given invoice, right, and then get to see the line item of that invoice. It shows each and every resource that I've been consuming, for which the service administrator has configured pricing, and it shows the breakdown of all the costs totaling to the entire amount. Right? So all this is captured right here. And if say if you're offering a prepaid service wherein the tenants pay you at the start of the month, then that means that there's a certain amount of credit associated to a tenant's account. Then we net out those amounts at the end of the invoice, so that it tells them what exactly they need to pay, if it's already covered by the credits, or if there's something over that credit amount that they need to pay at the end of the month, right? So that way you can offer a prepaid model, as well as a port model or a mix of both, right? Now, if you have integrated with payment gateways like Stripe, then as a tenant, you can even select an invoice and click on pay invoice, and it takes you to redirects you to a, it opens actually a new window and redirects you to the to a page that is hosted by Stripe, really, right? Rather this is a page that we host, but this is based on the components provided by Stripe, and then you enter the information about yourself, you provide your card number and pay the invoice. It essentially, completes the invoice, payment via Stripe, and then shows the status back here, right? So if you are a true service provider and you want to turn on credit card-based payments and enable Stripe integration, then you can pretty much, have the Azure Stack portal be the one-stop shop for tenants where they can come in and get to see their ongoing usage and then even be able to pay invoices, right? Just like how they might do for a pay-as-you-go subscription in Azure. So I'll just quickly pause here and then check if there are any questions, because we're almost out of time. And of course, there's a couple of things I didn't show on the admin side, which is, the admins can also get to see the usage history of all the tenants, similar to how the tenants can see it for their own subscriptions. The admins can get to see it for all the tenants, and they can get to see the invoices as well. But, you get the idea, right, in terms of what those features are. So I'll pause here and then check if you have any questions.
Arvind, just a quick question. What is the supported billing, say, automations tool that can be extended from Cloud Assert?
So in terms of extensibility, the Cloud Assert solution, provides a framework wherein you can build your own custom usage collectors. That means you might be offering a legacy service that can be even outside of Azure Stack, right? And if you want to, and you might be offering that service to the same tenant that is consuming services within Azure Stack as well. Now, what if you want to generate a unified bill for all those services you offer within Azure Stack, as well as outside of Azure Stack for the same tenant, right? Then how do you do that? So that would mean that the Cloud Assert Billing Solution, which automatically, aggregates and computes costs for Azure Stack services, it should also be able to query a legacy service and be able to, get the usage data for that legacy service and then generate a unified invoice. And how do you do that? And that's where the extensibility feature could come in handy. We provide a framework by which you as a service provider on enterprise, if you have your own IT team, they have the know-how to write PowerShell scripts, then you could write a PowerShell script that understands how to integrate with your legacy service, query usage from it, and then return the usage data from the PowerShell script as a result in a certain format that we prescribe, which can be understood by our Cloud Assert Billing Solution and then injected into the aggregated usage database, right? Based on which then we can use the pricing profile feature at that point to go and configure the pricing for the legacy service, and that way we automatically compute the cost of the month and then include it as a line item in your invoice, right? So we already have some existing usage characters like that for, say, your existing system center infrastructure for that matter, right? Or integrating with, say, your VMware infrastructure for that matter, right? Similarly, we could, if anybody who can write a PowerShell script and understands how your legacy service works, can easily extend and create several other usage collectors for you to inject all that usage into a central pipeline and aggregate the costs and then generate a unified bill. Does it help answer your question?
Yeah, sure. Okay. How about maybe just a bit more questions? Just the last question for me. How to extend from the CSP perspective, whereby a service provider want to do an end-to-end CSP subscription automation, creation of the subscription, creation of the plans and offer to be able to have service on.
Yeah. That's a great question. So I was about to talk about it, as part of the roadmap as well. So CSP integration is something that we already support today in our platform, right? We have made it available for Windows Azure Pack. We have made it available as part of our Hyper SaaS portal solution, and we want to make it available within Azure Stack as well. Okay, so which means we just have to light it up with the Azure Stack UI. The underlying integration is all in place, which means we can enable, if you are a tier 1 CSP provider, for example, and you have your customers purchasing Office 365, Azure, etc. through you as the partner, then chances are you go to the Partner Center portal, you have sales agents that go to the Partner Center portal and take orders on behalf of your customers via email or over the phone, and then place those orders in Partner Center. and then work with them to make those services available for you, right? And then given that you are the administrator, you have access to the services, so you can probably do some administration support for those as well. So that's the model in which you operate potentially today, right? Now, what if you want to provide a self-service experience for your tenant users to consume and transact these services directly rather than having to call you or send you an email, right? That would be ideal. So that's the experience that we have enabled with CSP integration. So which means like our goal is within the Azure Stack portal itself, you can get to see the CSP offers that are available for your market that you've made available for your tenants. And then they could go and pick and choose any of the offers and then subscribe to those offers. And then pick and choose any add-ons that are available as part of the offers and then manage those subscriptions. And if there are license-based offers that you've subscribed to, then you can assign those licenses to users within your company, right? Within your tenant, part of your Azure Stack, Azure Active Directory tenant. You can assign licenses to them or, remove licenses. You can manage licenses essentially. And then, we can also help you, generate bills for those as part of our billing solution, right? Based on the CSP consumption. So all this capability already exists today. And it's just that we don't have time to show that today through our Hyber portal or web portal, but that capability exists today. And our goal is, in the next month or, early next year, January timeframe, we want it to be, lit up within Azure Stack portal also. Right? That's something that I wanted to know. Now, having said that, this is not the only solution we offer for Azure Stack. The resource provider gives you the integrated experience right within the Azure Stack portal. Now, what if the customer says, hey, I offer Azure Stack as a service, but I also offer other services, which are could be my legacy services or legacy infrastructure and so on, and they want to provide a billing portal experience that is outside of Azure Stack, because not everybody is necessarily a user of Azure Stack, right? Because some users use only the legacy service, some users use both, and some users only use Azure Stack. Then what? Ideally, a centralized portal that can cater to all of this. So that's where Hyber can come in handy, because Hyber can also integrate with your legacy services and enable billing on them, and it can also integrate with Azure Stack and enable billing on them. The same billing engine, underlying engine, and API service is reused in Hyber as well, which means Hyber can seamlessly integrate with your Azure Stack environment, query the usage for all your tenants, and then your tenants can just go to the billing portal there in Hyber and then get to see the bills there, right, for Azure Stack, right? And since Hyber offers CSP already, the CSP self-service portal experience already, Hyber could be a central point where they could transact CSP services. They could also transact Azure Stack services and then get to see the bills for that. And apart from any other legacy service that you might want to offer, right? So in fact, we have had Azure Stack customers, right, who have liked our resource provider solution. They are using the resource provider solution, but in the next few months, as they want to make available CSP solutions as well in the market, and they offer other legacy services as well, they want to move away from the resource provider solution and then have the Hyber portal as the landing page or the landing portal where the tenants can come in and get to see billing data, right? But again, we have options. Every customer is different. So, depending on what the customer's needs are, we can enable, billing for Azure Stack using Hyber as an independent portal, or we can enable billing for Azure Stack right within the Azure Stack portal using a resource provider, right?
Arvind, Arshad from TM.
Yep.
So just to conclude, your OSS portion is not ready up until January, is it?
The CSP, you mean?
No, the self-service for the ordering portion, the OSS. The OSS is still under development and will be ready by January, is it?
So if you want the CSP self-service experience within the Azure Stack portal that you're seeing here, then yes, that experience will be available in January. But if you want to use our Hyber portal experience, which is the independent portal in which you want to see Azure Stack usage and cost, as well as enable self-service CSP experience, then that is available already.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So in your OSS, can you be able to actually, because our customer journey is highly dependent on PO-based customer journey. So whereby the customer issue an PO and they buy the credits from us. We set up the credits, so the credits will be draw down based on the usage by the end of the month. So does your system caters in the PO the credits and also the PO amount tagging as well. Let's say they are issuing a physical PO 10,000 and we configure
Sure.
10,000 credits.
Got it. Got it. So, definitely we can, today the way the credits is implemented, it's like an amount gets credited to a particular tenant's account.
Yes.
And then we automatically deduct that, when we generate the bill, we automatically deduct that available credits from the bill and net out what is the incremental amount, if any, that they need to pay. So that capability already exists. And today the administrator can, update that information, from the administrator portal. Now, if you want some automated integration to be in place, we can quickly implement it for you, because the API is already available. We have done such integrations actually in the past with WHMCS portal, because some customers use WHMCS as their marketplace experience to subscribe to stuff and then create add credits, etc. And through WHMCS we can automatically add credits to our solution. So there is API through which the credits can be added. So if you have your own solution in which the credits are originally getting added, then we can add some hook to pass on the credits through our API to update in our database, so that then that can be used to net out at the end of the month when we generate the bills, right? So those are things that we can very easily enable for you. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions?
About the plan creation, Arshad, okay. About the plan creation, we would actually have an infinity list of combinations in our plan creation, right? So do you have a standard list, infinity list of that plan, like what we have in Azure Calculator, Azure Public Calculator?
Yeah, we have all the available meters as I showed you earlier. So if you want to create unique pricing profiles, because you have several, hundreds of plans, we can very easily create, hundreds of pricing profiles. There is cloning capability, there is, export and import capabilities. So, when we do the initial setup for you at the time of deploying the solution, we offer a white glove service where we not only just set up the solution in your infrastructure, but also work with you to understand how you want to offer your services, how you want to charge back for your services, so that we can guide you on creating the pricing profiles and configurations and create it for all those unique cases, right? So then you can replicate the same yourself and tweak it as necessary for any other unique offer in the future, right? So we do all of this. And through the pricing profiles feature, we can pretty easily fulfill all your needs. It doesn't matter how many pricing profiles or how many plans you have. We have shortcuts to replicate it and then tweak it for any of your offers.
Okay.
So one of the other things that we are also doing apart from CSP integration is building what we call as profitability report, right, for the administrator, where you can, as an administrator, side by side compare the revenues that you're generating from your tenants based on how you configure the pricing for the services that they're consuming, and then compare it against the cost that Microsoft charges you by generating those bills at the end of the month, right? Microsoft also sends you these bills. So we will, query this information that Microsoft sends you, through the API, like, Partner Center API, etc. If it's CSP or, if you integrate with Azure, we'll, right? And then show you side by side the, cost that you're incurring versus the revenues and what is your net, profit, etc. So that's a capability that we are building as well, so that it can serve well for the administrators. And the other thing I want to call out is Cloudify.Asia being a key distributor partner for the Southeast Asian region. They're available, stones throw away, right? Particularly for folks that have joined the call, from Malaysia region, Singapore region, etc. Cloudify.Asia is our go-to partner. So even if you have unique needs, such as having to have somebody come on site and deploy the solution or provide on-site support, etc., Cloudify will be happy to be our front-end partner to come and assist you guys, right? Of course, Cloud Assert can also make plans to send our own personnel, but that will take visa and other logistics are involved. So unless it can be planned well in advance, for all that stuff, it's very easy for Cloud Assert, Cloudify.Asia to be able to be the first point of contact for you and then support with. And of course, they being the distributor, any licensing and purchasing of the product, goes through them, typically in the Southeast Asian region. So you can transact our products, purchase our products through them, and they'll, work with you closely to understand your needs and work with us as well in the back end to make sure that, the pricing is all configured uniquely and tailored to ensure that you get the best value, right, for what you're getting out of the solution. So, so it's like they are an extended arm, right, for the Southeast Asian region. So you can feel free to work with them closely, even in your local language and right. But having said that, we are also available anytime to get into calls. Anytime we are in India, so just a couple of hours behind your time zone. And we're also available in the US. So if you want to have a late night call, somebody like me is available in the US. So you have options to get adequate support.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks, Ravi, for the extended. I believe it's quite late at an hour at your side, right?
Yep.
Guys.
Yep.
Can I ask something about on the business model?
Yep.
So can you go back to the slides where you showed the business model, the per license thingy?
Yep, sure. One moment.
Apart from Telekom.Malaysia, which other partners are joining this on call?
Rashad, there will be other partner from Indonesia as well.
I see. Okay. Okay, this one, right? So can you explain how does the charging model, we as a CSP, cloud service provider, being charged again?
So you mean like how do you license the product and how are you going to be charged for the license? Is what you're asking? Yeah. So
how are we being charged?
Yeah. So what you would do is when you license the Cloud Assert Billing Solution, you would license it for a pack of say 100 subscriptions or 200 subscriptions or 500 subscriptions, right? When I say subscription, it is tenant subscriptions. So in Azure Stack, a tenant can consume or use your services only if they subscribe to an offer. And when they subscribe to an offer, you get a subscription, right? So I can probably quickly show you the Azure Stack portal here. So I'm here in the tenant portal, right? And I click on subscriptions here. You get to see all the subscriptions that the tenant has created.
So you can buy a new price.
If you want to generate a bill for each of these subscription, then the billing service has to be associated with it, right? So in this case, this tenant has 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 subscriptions. And if you want to generate bills for each of these 8 subscriptions, and let's say you have like 10 other customers, right, who are all subscribing to these 8 offers and each of them have 8 subscriptions, then you would have 10 customers with 8 subscriptions each. That totals 80 subscriptions, right? So that means 80 bills have to be generated every month to fulfill, to compute the cost of the services that they're subscribed to, right? So that means you would license a 100 subscription pack from Cloud Assert, for the billing solution that will enable you to, generate bills for these 80 subscriptions every month. And let's say your user base goes to 20 users, and then each of them still are going to have 8 subscriptions each. Then that will mean you'll have a total of 160 subscriptions. So when you anticipate such growth, then you will work with Cloud Assert, maybe through Cloudify.Asia, whichever way, right? And upgrade from say 100 subscriptions volume tier to 200 subscriptions volume tier, so that your license still has the necessary quota to generate up to 200 bills every month, right? So that is the option that you have. You can start with the tier makes sense for your current business volume in terms of how many bills you anticipate to generate, and then upgrade to higher tiers as your business changes or business grows over time. And you only pay for the incremental fee at that point in time in terms of going from one tier to another.
I believe Cloudify.Asia will actually provide us all the tiered licensing price as well.
Exactly. You can work with them, and they will be able to provide you all the detailed pricing. So this is for the license price. And as you mentioned, we also help you with the initial setup. It's just a one-time initial setup and configuration of the solution. So we do charge a one-time fee for that as well, for the initial setup and configuration of the solution. And Cloudify.Asia can provide you details of all of those.
Okay. How about MSS? Managed services? Is there a support maintenance annual charge?
Yeah, so depending on the license model, right? So if I go back and show you here, we provide a subscription-based license model or a perpetual license model, right? So if it's a subscription-based license model, the support costs are already included in your subscription license, fee. If you purchase a perpetual license, then in the first year, the support is included as part of it. You don't pay anything extra. But from the second year onwards, you would be paying roughly 20% of the license fee as the annual support, for every year that you use the solution and you want to receive support for. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So all these are details that are available with Cloudify.Asia team. So we typically work with you to understand, what your current user base is, how many offers you plan to provide, and compute the total number of subscriptions so that you can recommend what is the volume that you can license to start with, and then help you upgrade to higher tiers over time. And then based on that volume, and we also check with you on whether you want to do a subscription-based license or a perpetual license. Probably show you costs for both of the models so that you can compare and decide which one you want to go ahead with. And then we, lock down on the model at that point in time. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
And see, the other key thing, the aspect of a solution is, as I mentioned earlier, all the features are built and have evolved by working with actual customers, right? People like you, even people that have evaluated a solution, given feedback that may not have necessarily purchased a solution, right? So we take feedback from everyone. And if we find value in the feedback that could apply to the broader base of customers, then we go and incorporate it. And we work in a pretty agile model. We have monthly releases. So every feedback goes into the backlog. And if you give feedback to us that we feel could be valuable for other customers, chances are we will go ahead and get it done for you in one of the upcoming monthly releases, the next month or 2 or 3 months, depending on, the nature of the feature and whatever other work that's already in progress, right? So all that you get free of cost, right? So you want something, you get it, you wait for a few months, you get it, right? Or you might even just wait for a month and then you would get it. And all of that happens free of cost as long as you remain subscribed to the annual, standard support and product version updates, right? So that all happens free of cost. Now, if beyond that, you have some pretty unique needs, which may not apply to other customers, which is pretty, specific for you, and you want it to be done, say, pretty quickly in the next month or two, because only if we implement that, can you run the business and offer the kind of services that you want, then we are happy to do that as well. We also offer professional services and work with you, get our project team involved, services team involved, build those additional capabilities, in a month's time or 2 months' time, whatever it takes, depending on what you're asking for, and do it for a professional fee and get it done quickly, right? So we also offer such services because as a company, though we have these products and we sell it, we are also a service company. We build custom applications for the cloud, modernizing legacy applications to the cloud, as well as customizing our own products for unique customer needs, right? So we offer this entire range of services for customers. Any more questions on the licensing front?
Okay, last question for me. I need to run for another meeting. Okay, standard deployment period. How long you take?
The deployment of the resource provider itself takes about an hour or two, right? Again, it depends on how distributed is the setup and how many nodes we have to set up. So it's just a function of that. In a single box setup, it just takes an hour or two max to deploy the solution, right? Maybe for a multi-node setup, multiple nodes distributed, highly available setup, maybe it will take a few more hours. But the point being, in a day's time or maximum 2 days, depending on how large the infrastructure is, we can, get the solutions deployed. Now, the time that gets spent is really understanding what services you're going to offer, how you want to price the services, which meters to use for, charging back the customers, what is the associated pricing, and then configuring the pricing profiles. So that's where we would have some meetings with you. You would share some rate cards with us, and those things can be done again, in a couple of days' time. But it depends on, how quickly you can provide the inputs and be ready with the inputs so that we can come up with the pricing profiles and then go about configuring them, right? So typically, in a couple of days to max a week, we can get the deployment done and made available for prime time use, right? So that's kind of what is the trend that we're seeing with our customers.
Okay. Right, cool. Okay, Arvind, I gotta go. Thanks, Cloudify team. I'm leaving
Thank you.
the meeting. All right, see you.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Thanks a lot for joining us.
All right. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Right. So I think
Any other
it's a
question
great session.
Any other question from? I think we have the Infront Consulting team also, right? Do you guys have any questions?
No from us, Arafin, because it's still the same the last license model that you tell us.
Yeah, you're very familiar with it. It's similar to what we have done for Azure Pack in the past. So yeah,
Correct.
it's similar. You got that right.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
And do you have any feedback in terms of, hey, what about this capability or that capability that you think we should include in a roadmap?
Actually, for now, I still cannot say anything since I cannot close the sale for you until since last 2 years. So yeah, no idea yet.
Okay, that's okay. I was just checking. All right, Gavin and Ring, RK.
In front anyway. No worries.
Any questions? Any closing comments and thoughts?
I think it's good for now. We'll continue to follow up with a couple of persons from Indonesia, also from Malaysia. I think there's quite a few opportunities we'll follow up and then we'll go through it.
Sounds good. Okay.
Right.
Thanks
Okay,
again
so-
for making this this opportunity possible. I hope we can share the video. I hope the recording comes out well. Arun, I'm counting on you for that.
Sure thing.
And hopefully we can make this available for other folks that couldn't join or other folks that we can reach out through our newsletters and whatnot.
Sure.
Yes, indeed. So we'll follow up on those participants separately. All right.
Awesome.
Appreciate of your time, especially at the late hours now, to help us out on this webinar.
Sounds good, Ake. You bet.
All right.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Prison, to join us as well.
Okay, thanks, RK. Thanks, Arafin.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Thanks
day.
all.